Sounds great.
I think,
Hi.
hi. I think it would be really interesting for people to be a fly in the wall in our conversation, but
Yeah.
especially because we're both at a similar place in our life where we're we have I call it like a muggle job.
Right.
So we're doing a day job that we like, obviously, like because we're still in it, and
Yes.
but we have this passion project on our side, and our passion job is waiting for us. And we feel like once we're retired, this is when we're going to take off full time. But we're
Yes.
ramping up now, and it's a
Yeah.
struggle. It's a struggle
Yeah.
to get through the day to
Yeah.
day because
Yeah.
you're
It's
still,
interesting. I was just going to say, it's interesting that you say that it's ramping up because you and I have had conversations about the different things that that we're getting exposed to, the
Mhm.
energies that are coming to us, the things that we're getting, the little nudges from the universe, and just the way that the whole world is going with all of the turbulence, the unrest.
Yeah.
I was just upstairs, watching a little bit of the news as I finished up my supper, and I got on something about, not on, I got listening to something about Donald Trump having mentioned the 51st state on Mark Carney's conversation with him on the phone.
Mhm.
The journalists kept asking the same question over and over. And, it's about, whether or not he held a high standard to our Canadian sovereignty. And he stumbled and seemed like he got a little frustrated. And now people are like, oh, well, what's he hiding? Did he really, hold true to the sovereignty? It's like, my gosh, it's like everybody, every turn that you make, there's a question as to whether or not this person is the right person, that person's the right person. Is this, there's so much unrest in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, the energy is really shifting in the world.
Yeah,
So
it really, yeah.
yeah. So I think that with our passions, coming to the forefront, it's kind of taken baby steps going from a hidden type of agenda where people were scared to talk about it. Now we're coming out of the closet a little bit more and more, a little bit easier each time. And we're kind of like, I can't say we're the pioneers in all this, but it is certainly I still feel like we got a long way to go,
Mhm. But I
but
but
thanks.
I've what I've noticed over the last couple of years is how there's new people wakening, starting their awaken journey,
Yes,
and
yes,
they're finding us, and for a while there, it seemed like everything kind of like stopped and went very slow, and nothing was happening, and I started to wonder, like, but that was the time to go within too, to build up our courses and learn more things and figure things out. And that's when I started working on the magazine. And now
right.
that that's out there, I feel like like you said, things have shifted and more people are waking up and they're looking for resources and they're looking for
Yes,
people who speak that same language, like when you're talking about energy and chakras and that
yeah,
woo-woo stuff to talk to regular people about. And I shouldn't say
yes,
regular people because we're all regular people. It's just
we are.
we see things differently and we're living our
Yes,
lives differently.
yes. And I think that, like my friend, had found what I had shared about your magazine, and she went on to the magazine and she was quite thrilled to see that. And she said she was so happy to see something like that. And she said, you're going to really reach a lot of people because I think there are a lot of people questioning out there, but people, like you say, they don't know where to turn or they're not sure. And, you kind of, like yourself and myself, it took some time to find the people to chat about it and really open up to about it. And but the more we do that, the more comfortable people will be because ultimately we're all the same, like you
Yeah,
said. So
yeah,
hmm
that's true.
hmm
So tonight I'd like to hear about your theta session. I've
yes, I went
I've
to my
ex
very first theta session. And if people are not sure about what theta is, or exactly is. Maybe a lot of people know about what theta is. I had heard of theta, but I really didn't know much about theta. So I thought that I should go. I kind of had this feeling as I'm trudging along, taking the breadcrumbs and trying to follow them and do what my soul wants. Um, I felt that I don't know if I felt like I was blocked, necessarily blocked is the right word or not. I felt that I wasn't totally able to surrender, even though I have been open and capable of intuitiveness and I guess finally coming to understand what that really means. And that now I feel is coming easier. But then I'm told and I'm aware that we can be open to more types of clairs and everybody has that ability. It's just been so suppressed and it's been suppressed by so many things in our past. So, and I say in past as in ancestral, not just in our own past, but it's our upbringing and our ancestors and everything. So when I went to Theta, she explained it as she's tuning in to the energy of in the seventh dimension and that she's basically going in there. She's muscle tested with me to ask some questions. And she first had asked me what I wanted to work on. And that was the only thing that I could really say that I kind of am really questioning. I feel like I'm open to a certain degree, but then I hold myself back. And I'm not intentionally doing it, but I do feel there's a bit of a resistance there. And I don't know if
Where is that? Where's the resistance you're feeling?
the resistance is in my
Like,
thoughts. I'm having this like play back and forth in my head. And I understand and I'm watching lots of different things and people will say, yeah, sometimes you do second guess yourself, wondering if that's, when you're trying to tune into your guides or tune in to connect. Did I really connect? Was that really real?
okay.
Like, was that something that I'm getting a little bit better with it? But there's sometimes I'm thinking, okay, well, when does my ego jump in and when does the actual channeling to hear, that message come through? I know there's some messages that I totally get I did not think or, make up in my mind, but there's other things that come through. It's like, yeah, I could have said that, like myself.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, I feel that I try too hard, and it's really hard for me to let go and just allow my imagination to run wild because I know when I am in a sleeping state, when I first wake up, I'm still really sleepy, relaxed to the point that I'm too tired to even think about second guessing what comes through. And then that's when I'll see some visions pop in, or I'll
Mhm.
get messages that pop in. In the middle of the night, I would wake up with things popping in, whether it be, visual geometry, light codes, or my uncle connecting with me. So I just wonder, why can I not do that during the day? So I try to do meditations, and I always feel like I'm somehow holding myself back. So that's the only thing that I could think of to really mention to, to go forward with this theta session, because we could have just gone ahead and just gone with whatever comes through. But that was something that kind of came to the forefront when she asked, it just kind of fell out of my mouth. So I think that I was meant to have um, that conversation and brought that forward. So in that, and I mean, I have these energies that I can run for the same things, but I just never really thought of it, I guess. I don't really know why that didn't come to the forefront, but then as soon as I came to her, it came to the forefront. So,
When
um,
you say you have energies you can run, are you talking about the energetic allergy healing that you
yes,
have? Oh, okay. All right.
yes. So there is some tools in my toolbox there, that do have, um, belief, God belief or fear of God, those kinds of things. I just never really thought that they were what I needed. So I never really, I mean, I ran them when we were doing the courses, and I got attuned to them. And some of my intuitive tools and things that I bring out for myself have included a few things like self-sabotage and things where that does come into that package. Um, but I run them a little bit and it's not, I don't, I guess I just didn't pinpoint it. So when I discussed this with the person that was doing theta, she brought that up and said, let's clear that. Let's see. So she muscle tested and I had some resistance about letting that go.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, even when she said it and I thought about it, she worded it in such ways that I'm like, yeah, I guess I do feel like that. The ways in which, like, am I fearful that I'm going to be judged by God or judged by the universe? And in a sense, I did feel like that a little bit. It made me nervous. It made me a little fearful. And I don't know why. I don't know what there is to fear. And I'm told there's nothing to fear. Although that was still playing there in the back of my mind when we brought it up and when we went through it. And afterwards, we talked a little bit about it. And I kind of felt almost silly because when I said it the second time around, I didn't feel the same way. So after she did the asking to release it, is she okay to move it? Um, I could feel waves of energy going through me. My hands were lighting up. And when I say that, I mean my hands are lighting up as in I can feel the warmth. I can feel like the tingling that I feel in my hands. And I just say that and they light up. Um, and when we're running those energies, and when she's whatever she's doing, whether she's pulling them or she's running them and she's guiding, whatever, I can literally feel them going like woof, woof,
That's
woof down through
awesome.
my body.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, after that, we discussed the same topic and asking how I feel about it. And I said, I feel silly for having even talked about it because now I don't feel the same way.
Wow.
So it shifted very quickly, although that's not always the same experience for everybody. Sometimes the processing takes a little bit longer. So perhaps some of the energies that I had been running for myself, maybe it was taking me close to that, but I'm feeling better now. And it's not a big feeling. They're shifts, just subtle shifts that now when I talk about it, I feel silly having even mentioned that that was how I had felt. So there's some reservation there about sharing how we really feel, I think. And then when, it can be really impactful, I think, those things. So the theta experience for me was awesome. I thought that it was very helpful. That was pretty much the topic that we just stayed on. Um, she made me feel very comfortable about the whole thing.
Mm.
And yeah, the experience, I went home and I could tell my body was processing. I could feel it's really hard to explain. I guess, we wanted to kind of delve into how energies feel. And for me, when my body's processing, I can feel like it's almost like a whole pressure in my body or something. And it's like, it's really hard to explain. It's very subtle, but it's there.
I like how you
I
said it's very subtle because that is with energy. It's very subtle. And sometimes if if you're so in your head and so busy thinking and worrying about day-to-day things that you could miss things like that. And so
hmm
that's why it's important to find time to just let all of that go and just connect,
Yes.
right? And be quiet so you can. And when you mention that you often get messages or see visions just before wait or as you're waking up, it's the same as going to sleep. That's the ideal time for everybody. It's because your
Okay.
mind hasn't kicked in and started going through the to-do list of all
Right.
the, things, the earthly things we have to do. And it's the perfect time for spirit to come in and say, woohoo, I've got you all to myself for the next 8 hours. And we're going to
Yes.
download and we're going to talk and we're going to do things. And some people actually
Yes.
even leave their body and go and do other things and then come back. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's the
Yes.
best time to get those messages from spirit. It's
Yeah.
just
And
as
like
you
I
wake
said,
up.
I've been awakened by the things that have happened. Like I
Mm,
said, waking up and it's a dream and it's so vividly and sudden that it stirs me to wake. Or I've had, spirit kind of, I call it spirit. I'm assuming the spirits are hovering over and I can feel all this tingling energy vibrating all through my chest and all down in through and dipping in and out of my body. And that's in the night. And I wake up and I'm laying there and I'm awake. This is happening, you know. Those are really, and things are quiet at night too. So like you
mhm.
said, it's like that's when all the chaos and the noise around our lives really leaves us. And I think it's really important to, like you said, take time for yourself. And that's the time when they can step in. Taking time for yourself and getting out into nature
Yeah,
is a time when it's more of a calm for us.
yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I was thinking about too, I'm kind of jumping around on all kinds of topics because I'm like that. like a squirrel. Or I'm seeing squirrels, one of the two. When I get out into nature or get out into the forest, I get ringing in my ears.
Oh,
So
okay.
whether it be on the left side or the right side, it's always when I get in nature. And they say that potentially that could be spirits close by
Yeah.
connecting. Is that what your truth is?
Yeah, that's what I've heard is that sometimes what'll happen is like there's a pressure change around my ears, and then I get this really loud ringing, and then it slowly dissipates. And I feel like it sounds silly, but I feel like it's a download from the angels, from the spirit team of something that you're thinking about, or they're just putting it there and you'll know what it is when you need to know what it is. And those are
Right.
times like, maybe one day you wake up and you go, I just had this really great idea. Well, they may have planted that idea, the day before or something, and it comes when
Yeah.
it's needed. But I agree with you with nature. I want to talk about my garden. So before I
Oh,
sold
yeah.
my old home, I created this really nice garden. I fenced it in, put a door on it, and it was so lush. I had mostly vegetables, but I had flowers, sunflowers, and all these different kind of flowers, and it was full of birds and bees and
Mm.
butterflies. And I would go out and sit there, and that was my happy place. So I'd have my morning breakfast, my morning tea and then breakfast. I'd go out for my lunch. There were days that I would be in pain. So let's say I had a sore knee or I had a migraine. I would just go sit in that garden, and within 5 minutes, I would have no pain. The migraine would be gone,
Wow.
just be perfectly healed, and then I could get up and
Wow.
leave. Yeah,
Wow.
that's nature. It just
Yes. Getting
you
into those right vibrations.
Yeah, because I feel like the physical world, especially if you're an empath and you can feel all the energies going on, when you're in
Hmm.
nature, it's like a vacuum. It just pulls all that energy away from you and protects you. And then you're in a place that you're resonating with the same energy and the same frequency, and it's just so healing and
Yes.
with it's like being in a room with like-minded people. You
Right.
all feel comfortable together, the energy's flowing around, and it's one big happy circle. But if you're in an
Yeah.
environment where it's a very tense situation, you with people that rub each other the wrong way, you can feel that, and it feels
Yes.
uncomfortable, and it's like you're grinding against people, It's
Yes. Yes. And
yeah.
and everybody does have intuition and they utilize it. They just don't know to how much they utilize it because it's overshadowed, I think, and not noticed as much because it's more subtle. But I mean, if you ask most people can come into a room and feel
Mm,
the energy.
yeah.
They'll say, "Oh yeah, ooh, something's bad's going on in
Something,
here."
yeah,
They
exactly.
can look, but they use other senses to go along with it,
Yeah.
right? Because they're using senses of sight. So, somebody with a sad face or somebody with an angry face, you walk in and sense that. Um, but if people paid attention to that more subtle energy,
Mhm.
if they were to come in with their eyes closed, that energy, the subtleness actually becomes a little louder and it's more noticeable. And when you pay attention to it, then it becomes. Do you ever, stop and listen to music, say a guitar, and then, or music that's playing, and then you try to pick out one guitar and just listen to that one guitar? It's a little challenging.
It's
It
very
is a little
challenging. Yeah.
challenging, but I think that's kind of the idea of how, to try to hone in on it and try to quiet down the rest of everything else and then just hone in on one small thought or one small energy to notice it, or that intuition to notice. It's that subtle, I find. It
Yeah.
takes practice.
Yeah, it does. And you're right, everybody has it. I mean, they used to call it like the gift or, the sight. I know old Ireland, it would be like, oh, Aunt Granny or, Granny Ann or whatever has the gift. And it's
Yes,
like, but everybody has that
yes,
ability. Um,
that's right.
I look at it as if you're a musician. Some people were born with a guitar in their hand and can get up on stage like Celine Dion. And
Yes,
there's people who like to sing at local events, and there's people who like to sing in church, and there's people who like to sing when they're doing laundry or doing
right.
housework, right? And they'll never sing, but they have a beautiful voice. So there's so many different stages so you can have intuition and be a psychic medium on a worldwide stage, but maybe you're not meant to do that. Maybe you're just meant to pay attention to what's going on around you and know when
That's
to
right.
avoid situations or when to embrace situations and
Exactly.
whatnot.
And another analogy, when you look at it, you can break it right down to, I was going to say most people can run, but as we get older, maybe we all can't run. But at one point, we could all run as kids.
Yeah,
Most of us could run as kids. When you are running, everybody can run, but that doesn't mean that everyone is going to be a marathon runner.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can move in that same fashion, but unless you put your focus and attention in that one spot, you are not going to excel. But even if you were to put all your attention there, it still doesn't mean that you're going to get the achievements as somebody else
yeah,
that, can be achieving an Olympic, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Qualities, I guess, or abilities, the
yeah.
Olympian abilities.
Yeah, it doesn't mean everyone's going to be at the same level. You're not meant to be. If you are, you will be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But when I'm talking about energy, you can palpate the energy within crowds when there's something going on. And an example is church, even though we're not bringing this in to be a religious thing, but prayer and coming together is something that elevates and it raises the vibration, and it actually, you can, in groups, create a higher vibrational energy that can be palpable, that can be felt. When you walk into a room, everyone's in a party and they're dancing, you feel that,
Yeah, you
you
do feel
know?
that. And
Hmm.
so when you put a group, even if you do a circle, or just a bunch of friends get together, you're raising that vibration in that area as well. So
That's right.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So in talking about people who actually work with energy then, like myself, prior to you really focusing in on it and becoming more intuitive, and working with energy, and I started out with Reiki. At first, you're told the hand placements, and you're guided, you're given the down, like the attunements, and you go through the motions of it. It's only after time that you actually start to feel the energies. And I can still remember, I don't know how long it was that I was doing Reiki, but I remember sending a message to my Reiki teacher, and I said, I'm feeling this stuff, energy coming up my legs. And I didn't understand what that was. And she said, that's Gaia. You're grounding into Gaia. And I'm like, what's Gaia? You know, so there's so much terminology out there
Mm.
too. And it does get to be sounding a little woo woo, but it does get to feel like, um, I don't even know how to explain it. I know we had talked about wanting to talk about this, but it's like I feel the heat, I feel the prickliness in my hands, but this sensation is like a vibration going up my legs, when
That's
I'm
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. And then when I'm done, it goes away. So it's like it's drawing that in. And
Have you felt
another,
it come through the crown and down?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. It's like I feel almost like it's like something goes,
Boom, right in. Yeah.
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 It's like it just goes in and um, yeah, it's interesting that I can feel sometimes out in my arms
Yeah.
coming into my hands. Um, I guess one of the ways to explain that, I tried to explain this to somebody at work one time. Um, when you rub your hands together really
Hmm.
fast, and then you feel that kind of buzzy feel in your hands, or did you ever like, you hold on to your friend's wrist or you hold on to your own wrist, you make a fist and open it up, make a fist again, open it up, and then let that blood flow. And it feels like the blood is like a spider
Oh,
web. It's
yes.
almost like that kind of a feeling
Yeah.
as well for me.
I
And I
remember when I
think,
first started, it was like when I would be pulling, I was doing Reiki and then I did integrated energy therapy. So that was working with the angelic realm. And I remember you'd go into the auric field and you start to pull stuff out, and it would feel like you were an elastic band attached to your hand and you're pulling it out. And you could feel it
wow,
going through all of the layers. Sometimes it would only go through a couple of layers, but sometimes it go through all of the auric field. And that was
that's
one
interesting.
sensation, like it was pulling in here. What I found interesting is how sometimes my hands would like heat up and would
Yeah.
tingle. But there were times I put my hands, I wouldn't touch the client, but I put them just, an inch or two above them. And they would say, your hands, like they're on fire. Like I feel like I'm burning from them. And I would touch my hands and they were cold, like
Mm.
ice cold.
Mhm.
I thought that was so interesting how the client felt something completely different than what was
Yes.
actually happening in my hands.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I have had like felt like my hands are cold to touch, but then my hands were hot in
Mm.
the drawing, like the patient or not the patient can tell that I'm a nurse, eh?
It
The
is
client
patient in a way, I guess.
feel that.
Yeah.
Um, some of the sensations too that I have felt through uh performing Reiki, for instance, as one of the energies, um, this jarring feeling that it was like around the throat chakra at one point. There was another instance, a couple of different people around the heart chakra. It was like once I got there, the heat was there and then it cooled right off to be cold. So like,
Interesting.
so to me, it left me feeling and thinking it's dense. So it's heavy, it's dark. That's what I felt like. So to me, that's old stagnant energy. So
Mm.
something very deep and hurtful. And this particular person had experienced a loss of a very dear sister to her. So that was, that energy that was there that really was hanging on, really deep in that instance. The jarring thing, she did have a blockage in the throat chakra. I'm not sure why the jarring, I think over time we put words to the feelings because there's not really words that apply. And
Exactly.
we get to be knowing what that means when we put the pieces all together. And then when we experience it again, then we know what that was.
Mm.
But really, there's so many different ways of explaining things out there. It's not really a complete science.
Yeah, that's right. And
You
everybody
know,
has a different experience, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, some people might be more visual
Hmm.
and they'll get more visual hits. So it depends, I guess, on however you are, wherever your strengths lie.
That's right. And that
Mhm.
comes back to what we said earlier about being the marathon runner or, just starting out that your gifts are your gifts and you need to learn to what they are and then work with them.
Yes.
When I'm teaching how to do mediumship and how I start with the basics and how to what the clairs are and how you receive information. Because some people feel like it's all about videos going by in your mind, or you see a
Mm.
movie happening, and And that's like clairvoyance. It's what you see in the movies and the TV shows, and everyone thinks that's what it is, but it's rarely that for people. Like there's a small percentage of people that have that. It could be sparks that you see around. It could be something out of the corner of your eye. But for me, it's mostly a knowing, a deep knowing. And you don't know how you know something, you just know.
Right.
And then the feeling, you get a sense of something. I remember driving through a town, a small little suburb, and I just felt like the weight of the world had just descended upon me. And I felt so teary and just unwell. And I I wasn't driving, my mom was driving, and I turned to her and said, "I'm feeling something." She said, "I'm feeling it too." And
Really?
she'd hanging out with me long enough. She's tuned into her energies as well. And so
Okay.
we drove through this community and then it stopped. It all lifted and it was gone. And
Wow.
I've had that happen other times. So I don't know what happened in the community, but some residual energy was left over. Or, maybe someone had just lost somebody. Maybe there had been an accident. Maybe somebody's house burned. Like I don't know what the event was, but the energy was
Hmm.
still in that community.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so that's another way you get the information is you feel it. And then hearing, like, so the ringing in the ears, or you
Yes.
hear messages. And then smell is a big one too. Did I get them all? Hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing,
So there's claircognizance is knowing, clairsentience
feeling,
is feeling,
clear,
clairvoyance is seeing.
seeing, clairaudient is hearing. And then there's
Yes.
two more that I remember reading about. So smell is one and taste is the other. And I forget the clair they put with
I
it.
forget that one too. The
Yeah.
taste, gee, I'd have to Google that one.
Yeah. So I often get the smell too. And it's like, I know over the years, I've been able to figure out who's visiting me based on the smell. Um,
Okay.
and so to me now, it's a comfort when I have that whiff of perfume or that whiff of like an old smoke fire, like this fire.
Hmm.
I don't know my words tonight. Smoke from a fire. I know who's visiting me, and it's a comfort to
Oh,
know, like, oh, hi. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that one time experience when I was doing a meditation for a past life regression. And in that meditation,
From my water.
it brought me to, you're in this meditative state. Okay, now you've landed basically, you're now in that other life. Um, you know, to take a moment now to look down at your feet, see if you're wearing anything. And I saw something brown on my feet. I had the feeling that I was a man. And then all of a sudden I could smell this really strong, pungent, um, to me, it would have smelled like tobacco. Now
Okay.
when I went to Cuba, I went into the cigar factory, very strong, pungent. I don't know if you've ever visited Cuba and gone into the cigar factory in the downtown. Um, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the city in Cuba, Havana. In
Okay.
Havana, we toured a cigar factory, and that cigar factory had a really strong, strong, fresh smell of the tobacco, not tobacco, but the cigar leaf or whatever they used in the cigars. This was similar because it was very pungent, and I remember laying there and saying, "Oh my God, is that me in my meditation, or is that somebody around me?" And I remember like taking in an extra breath, an extra smell and an extra smell again, like to really clarify if that was what I was actually smelling. And I kept smelling it. And then it said, the meditation went on to say, go ahead and you're going to leave now and you're going to go home. So it was like I opened up a flap or a door. It was dark. And I opened up the door and I started to walk out of this path. And as I walked away from this place, that smell left. So I had the feeling that it might have been a place where there was tobacco leaves drying, maybe, or if I worked in a place where they made tobacco or grew tobacco or something. Factory, I don't know. That's all I could sense. But that was the only one time I ever had like a really strong sense or smell in a meditation.
That's really cool, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that I've experienced a lot of different ones, like claircognizance. I do get a lot of that. Clairvoyance, I have had that. And I've had that clairsentience, but I can't redo them again. And that was where I was saying that that hasn't come to me when I was talking about doing the theta, and how that was something that I know I had the capability of experiencing it, but why can't I get that again? You
So
know?
yet, you can't do it yet.
Yes, yes, and that's what I
But
have to remember.
again, maybe it's going to be that there's one of those that are going to be stronger for you for the rest of your life, and the others
Yes,
come and go when they want you to have them. But
that's right.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and that's the thing. But yeah, it's yeah, that's interesting.
it is interesting. I remember going for theta, and I had no idea what it was. I just remember a lot of people in the circles I was holding were talking about it, and they were talking about the experiences they were having. And so I thought, I'm just going to go try it. I remember being so nervous because I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know the woman, and it was
I
just
didn't
like,
either.
like there was a couch and a chair, and they're like, sit wherever you're comfortable. I'm like, do I lie down if you want to? I thought it was gonna be hands-on healing, you
I thought
know?
it was going to be a meditation thing where I'm going to be laying there and I'm going to be listening to her, and I was going to do a meditation, and I walked in the room and there was no couch or anything. So I sat down. But anyway, continue your story. I'd
Yeah,
like to
so
hear your experience.
she came in and she was in a chair and she just rolled up in front of me, and I'm like, we're right in each other's space. So like, I don't understand what's happening. And then she
Yeah.
started doing the muscle testing, and she was so calm and so warm, and like I
Yes.
really connected with her. And now I had known her because I was going for allergy testing or elimination with her, and so
Right.
I knew. I'm trying to think if I had been to her yet or I just knew of her. No, that was the first time I met her. Sorry. I started with her just shortly after that. So it was my first time meeting her, and I was really nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But then we started with the muscle testing, and I'm a doubter about the muscle testing because when I do it on myself, I'm like, the more you do it, sometimes you get the false positive. And
Yes.
so but she was doing it and it was really working. And I was like, okay. And then she'd say, like, what are you here for? I'm like, I have no idea. I just want to experience this. So we just went down, and she would say something and it would be like, I don't know. And then she muscle test. I'm like, well, apparently it is. So let's just get rid of whatever it is. And I found through that whole process that I felt so much lighter. Like I left
Yes.
her room feeling bubbly and excited and just lighter. And
Mm.
the 10 weeks I did of the energy allergy releasing with that company, it was so it was 10 sessions. Every session, and then I had two thetas, and then during one of our sessions, she did a theta on me for free because she just felt this is what I needed. And so by the time I finished all that, I felt like so many levels of stuff came off of me. And this is stuff that wasn't just like my lifetime, it was past lifetimes. It was ancestral stuff and um and childhood stuff. All of that lifted up and was gone. And I felt like that was what I needed in order to start the next level of healing. And then I met you, and I connected and started doing the same with you, but in a whole different way. And I found I was able to go so much deeper and more profound healing. But I don't think I would have had that experience with you if I hadn't had the experience I had with the other place. So I felt
Hmm.
like I feel like so many years of bringing in all this energy and thoughts are energy. So you could be
Yes.
walking. So when I was driving through that community, that could be all thoughts. I remember I used to live in Ottawa, Ottawa Gatineau, And I remember when there was a big layoff, the government was laying off a lot of government employees. And Ottawa's a government town. Ottawa-Gatineau is a government town. Like majority of people live there, work in the federal government. So when all these people were losing their jobs, I remember driving through downtown Ottawa and the heaviness of the that energy that it just was sitting there. And the thing with Ottawa is that it's in the valley, so you're in a bowl, and all this energy just collects over there, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And weather patterns will come in and it'll just stall over Ottawa because it's in that valley and it won't move
Okay.
anywhere. But from a energetic perspective, all those thoughts, all those worries, all that just sits there and it gets so heavy. And I could feel that. And so, as an empath, I'm picking all that up too. And if you're not taking care of yourself and removing that energy, or if you're not aware that that's happening to you, then it builds up over time. And then you find
Mm,
yourself physically ill because of all that. So, I found all the layers that I was doing with the energy healing was able to lift it all so that I can work on the physical stuff. And I found
right.
working with
Get deeper.
you, you got deeper. And yeah, so it's energy healing is and working with energy just it's fantastic and
Yeah.
it's real. Like you can feel benefits from it. Even if you don't
Yeah.
believe in it, if you allow
Exactly.
yourself a Reiki session just to try it or the energetic allergy healing, wow, or theta, like wow, it
Yeah.
will blow your mind.
I agree. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. There's so many different types of modalities, but all healing is self-healing.
Uh,
But it's also, it's not a one thing is better than the other thing. It's that whatever resonates and what your needs are, your body and your soul will guide you to where you resonate, where you feel the most comfortable because it knows what you need.
yeah.
So at that time, that's what, that energy shifted and made you go towards that way because that's what you needed. And
Yeah.
then it brought you over this way because that's what you needed. So
Yes.
putting your eggs all in one basket and saying, okay, well, I'm just going to go to this place because they're known to do this type of healing is not necessarily going to get you exactly what you need unless you've been guided to go there yourself. And then maybe you will get that. And maybe your journey requires more,
Yeah. I know
than
when I
just that one
started,
place.
yeah, I started the year off. This was last year, 2 years ago. I said, okay, this is my plan. And you know what they say when you make a plan? God laughs.
Mm.
So I'm going to go to this. And so I knew, so I was going to do that one place and signed up for the 10 sessions. And then I thought, next I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go over here. And when it came to this second step, it was like, nope, that's not going to happen. You need to go over here instead. And I thought that was
Exactly
really
what I
interesting.
mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly
So
what I
I
mean.
got what I needed and I trust that when I need more, it'll just happen. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the difficult thing to do is to trust and allow
Oh,
yourself to be guided.
yeah.
And that's why I say when I went to Theta myself, that just kind of spilled out of me. I didn't really have an agenda when I went there. But yet, as soon as I said something along those lines, she was able to tune in and say, do you have a fear of being disappointing God or being are you afraid? Like, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. And so then when she muscle tested, it was like, I'm getting a yes. And she's like, well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna clear. I said, take it all, whatever you think next.
Take it.
I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
But we can really hang on to a lot of energies too that we
Yeah.
don't want,
Yeah.
and sometimes we can clear some of those ourselves and protect ourselves. And in doing that, I think it's a whole life. Um, it's kind of like an energy lifestyle as
Yeah.
well. It's a
Yeah.
whole encompassing. We're not just a physical body, we're an energetic body as well. So we have to take care of all the aspects and feed all the aspects correctly. And
So I guess
nurture them, I guess,
just
not feed them necessarily, but nurture them.
with you saying that makes me think it should be maybe I'm going to start a workshop for spa day for the energy self.
I like it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
really like that.
yeah.
That
I
would be a really great idea.
can write
There,
that down.
write that down.
Write that down before I forget. That's how spirit works, eh? They just come in and they say, "Hey." Oh, so I'm going to sh can I share that story about the workshop
Sure,
that's coming up? Okay, let me just hit
sure.
I need to write this down. I'm trying to find.
Mhm.
So it'll be a spa day for energy bodies. Okay, so I was working on a workshop. I think it was on Saturday or Sunday. It was Monday. It was a long weekend, so we had Easter Monday
Right.
off. So here I am in the living room, and I have my tablet with me, and I'm coming up with ideas for this happiness workshop. And I had decided to pivot my offerings to online only because it's pretty hard to find a location in our city right
Yes.
now. So I've been doing online, and so I'm writing up the description and the things I'm going to do, and I hear. So here's a clear audience. I hear, and it's just like it's just going right by me, saying, "This would make a really nice in-person workshop." And I said, "Yeah, I would. Where would I hold it?" And I heard the Rod, and I just went, I don't know, because the ride can be expensive and I
Yes.
don't know. So I just took it and put it aside and continued. And within a minute, I get this bing on my phone and it's the Rod confirming that they do have the dates that I asked for for my upcoming workshop. And I was stunned. I didn't send an email. Like, what are you talking about? So then I looked at the dates she had and I recognized the dates because the year before I had held a workshop on the same dates I requested in 2024. Something must have crossed in their system to say, here are 2025 dates for you that you requested. I don't know how that happened. Obviously, somebody's working at it.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I got the email, I just laughed and I thought, this is crazy. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to jump on this and I'm going to say,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take. So I looked at the
Yeah.
calendar at the dates, and the 19th of September fell on a Friday, and I thought I could do Friday. And so I sent a reply saying, yeah, I'll take this the 19th. Instantly, she sent me the contract to sign. So I printed it, signed it, like sent it back to her. And within, I would say it was about 5 to 8 minutes, it was a done deal.
Done deal. Just like
And
that.
just like that. And I,
And that's
then
when
I,
you know it's meant to be.
that's when you know. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm pretty excited about it, but I don't know that I've had anything happen quite that way
No?
before. So that was kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And people would call that like maybe serendipities or something like that, but I think that's literally spirit working.
I I do too. Yeah.
Yes. The
Having
universe is aligning.
yeah, having been doing this for so long and seeing the things that happen, I have no doubt that
Too many coincidences.
yeah, I
Way
just
too many
don't believe in them
coincidences.
anymore. No, not
No.
coincidences anymore. They're meant to happen. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I
fun.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that, how that works out like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's so great about working with energy. And I mean, people might say, like, it is a coincidence, like you're crazy for thinking that. You know what? That's okay. You can think that way. But for
Mm.
me, believing that it was divinely guided, it
Hmm.
fills my soul and it connects with me. And if it makes me happy, then what does it matter? Like if you don't believe in them, that's okay
But
for you.
I have to say, since I've opened up and, I think I was being given breadcrumbs all along the way throughout my life, of course. Never really paid attention to them. Once I did start paying attention and once I did start getting into energy work and I started expanding and going down other rabbit holes and leading me to different people and different things, those serendipities or those coincidences became so frequent.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't just happen randomly, like everybody can say, oh, well, I've had, crazy things like that happen too. Do you have them happening as often as we do?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I have to ask because I always see 1, 1, 1, 1,
Yeah.
2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. How is that possible that I'm
Yeah.
getting that? And those are just small examples. There's more bigger examples like the one that you just gave that pop in all the time. And it's so true that, with our frequency and whatever we put out, we will get back. So
Yeah.
the more positive we are, the more higher we keep our vibration in those feelings of happiness, um, which you're going to actually be teaching everyone in that workshop.
Yeah.
And that will bring back around and magnetize more of what you have created. So when you think about what you're putting out, you're actually creating your future and bringing back and magnetizing back what you give out. So it's very mindful too. Like it's a mindful, that's why it's good to have spa days for your energy.
No, that's a yeah, and it's great because if you don't realize that's what you're doing, then
Yes.
it's helpful to know that so that you can change. And I mean, I
Yes.
think that that'll be another podcast we can talk about,
Mm.
because there's a whole hour just talking about thoughts are things and you can change your life by changing your thoughts and like
That's
it's
right.
yeah, so I
The
think
ideas of manifestation and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of different areas to go off into
yeah,
when it comes to that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an exciting place to be.
It is. It is. Yeah.
And
I
it's
love it.
fun.
It is
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
I do too.
And I can't wait to retire.
Mm,
Counting
hmm
down the
I
days. Like,
definitely, I would definitely like to be doing this more often.
yeah, me
That
too.
is for sure.
Yeah,
hmm We'll get there.
we will. In divine timing, we'll be there when we need to
Well,
be.
that's what I'm told. In the divine right time, in the divine right order. That was one of those messages that came in. The other thing was to be prepared. And what was the other thing I was thinking lately that I got was, oh, I was told that what I'm working in as far as nursing goes, that is all in preparation for my higher learning. So even though we think of our muggle jobs as being not necessary or not significant, everything in our world is significant.
Yeah,
All those life experiences, all those those what we would consider negative happenings or negative experiences or negative exposures are all part of learning. So that's your yin and your yang or your light and your dark. And, it's all of those things that we work through to create a broader consciousness and higher learning.
just gave me another idea for a workshop. So
Woohoo, what is it?
So my business is follow the light, and I'm always talking about light
Yes,
and getting into the light. But what I've learned through my experiences is that you need the darkness to live in the light as well. You need to
absolutely.
have those down times, those dark times to go through things. And I feel like that's
Yes,
not talked about enough. So I feel like maybe
yes.
we should have a workshop on embracing the
Mm,
darkness,
Well,
I
there's
guess.
always, yes, embracing that and knowing that we have both divine feminine and divine masculine within
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
and having a, a good balance of
Yeah.
each so that one doesn't overshadow the other. Although high frequency light is wonderful, but then you can't learn if you don't have a something on the other side of it. There's nothing to know about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I feel like you learn more when you're going through the trials and tribulations of life, the big challenges,
Absolutely.
when you're climbing over
Absolutely.
those mountains. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's when you learn.
But
And
do they have to be so damn tall and so damn hard?
well, when you get to the top, it just feels so good. Like you just climb this amazing, and whenever you go through something that's so challenging and so difficult, and you come
Mm,
out the other side and you just like Yes, I did.
I think more of the challenge of the bigger the challenge, the bigger the reward.
Mm,
I guess
yeah,
that holds true, right?
yeah. Oh
Sometimes it
well.
feels like torture though. I have to say.
It does. It does for sure. Yeah. Well, this has been
Oh,
lovely. Thank you so much for
yeah.
joining me for this.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. I mean, I could stay on here and talk for hours. We've got all kinds of topics that we can cover.
We do. I'm going to
Mhm.
stop the recording now, but we can stay
All
on and
right.
just keep chatting for.
Recap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So join us again. I'm
Yeah.
sure we're going to do this again.
I'm
And
sure we will.
yeah, we have so many things to talk about. So
Yes.
thanks for watching.
Yes.